Hi, and welcome to our series, Parenting Children with Special Needs in a New Reality. My name is Aubrey Schmalley. I'm the owner of Sensational Achievements and the author of the Body Activated Learning Framework. As a pediatric occupational therapist, I've really experienced on many different levels the impact that COVID-19 and the increase in screen time across the board, academically, during leisure time, has had on the children of this generation. And as I talk with a lot of my clients and their families and the children themselves, it really becomes clear that there's so much that a human needs, that a child needs to feel safe and successful and comfortable in their own skin. And COVID-19 has really been a recipe for disaster in that area. What started off as really kind of focusing on the health and safety of our society, as it goes on longer, we really start questioning what is the overall impact on the health, the emotional well-being, and the development of our children. So let's think about that a little bit deeper. When children went back to school this fall, there were so many restrictions on the arts and music and physical education. We couldn't share materials. We couldn't blow through our instruments. We couldn't, in some cases, even hold drumsticks because they might have germs from someone else if they hadn't been cleaned properly before. In one school, I know that they made a decision that the children couldn't do activities that would raise their heart rate or make them sweat. They couldn't sit in the grass in case there was some contamination or they would touch something and then transmit COVID. These fears started really dominating a lot of the decision-making processes within the educational system because no one wanted to be the transmitter of COVID-19. And I think there's definitely precautions that need to be taken. I don't want anyone to misunderstand the idea that this is something to be taken seriously. We do need to take precautions. We do need to make sure that we are adhering to the guidelines that have been put out at the state level, at the federal level. I believe in all of that, but sometimes we take it to the next level and our fears end up keeping us from the very things that make us be healthy and mentally well and grow and develop in life. And that's been happening with our children all throughout the year. So the feedback that I'm getting from children at all age levels is really, I need to do something to feel better. So what I mean by that is, in schools, we always argued for there to be more budget for music and the arts and gym and for those special activities to really have more weight within our education. Yet time after time when schools faced budget cuts, that those were often the programs that were decreased or made smaller. There were less materials available, there were less opportunities to engage in those activities, and more weight was put towards academic content and reading and math concepts. But the argument was always, if we have nothing that we're doing, then what do we have to write about? What do we have to do math for? Reading and writing is the process by which we make sense and utilize and engage with our perceptions of the world around us. But it comes through a physical experience with the world. It comes through interacting with materials and people and watching cause and effect, doing science experiments, running down the street and feeling our bodies, feel better and stronger as a result of engaging in movement, in cardiovascular exercise. It doesn't occur in a vacuum. We can't do math for something that has no value and no application. The engineers of the world definitely would agree with that process. So we always have known that arts and music and movement is critical to the happiness of human beings, and definitely to the happiness and well-being of children, so that they can develop more cognitive abilities, better executive function, better cognitive schemas, and really an understanding of the world around them. So if you take away all those things because there are health restrictions in place, then what do we have? What is there left to talk about? What is there left to experience? We can't raise our heart rate. We can't increase the opportunity for our brains and bodies to develop through movement. We can't engage in sports that would give us more goal directed physical activity. And the research shows that goal directed physical activity is what improves executive function and adaptability to your environment. So if we can't engage in that type of movement in school, and then we're reliant on parents at home to be able to provide it when there are no sports teams to sign up for, no indoor ice skating or indoor hockey or anything that would be a contact sport, no indoor play spaces, how can we have an expectation that a child is going to get their needs met outside of school, to engage in movement that is physiologically regulating, that helps them not just feel better in their body and release endorphins and release serotonin, but also helps them grow and develop cognitively, so that they can follow that natural trajectory of development as they progress through adolescence and into adulthood. Now, when we think about music and the arts and creativity, so much has been written about the Mozart effect and the development of brains of people who are musicians. So much is known about the connection between engaging in those activities and the impact that it has on brain function. And again, also on self-regulation. Even when you just think about, being a dancer or going to a club, the rhythm and the strong beat that connects you to your body, or the melody of classical music that stimulates your brain to think, to concentrate, to relax. Whatever the impact that music has on you or on another child or on someone else in the world, we can't argue that it does have an impact, and it is a necessary and integral part of life and building a life that is full of rich and dynamic sensory experiences, including both movement and music and tactile experiences as well, such as participating in art. Even if you're a terrible artist, the process of engaging with the materials and learning how to make something. You could be an artist that is, someone who loves to do mechanical things, or someone who loves to build things. You might not be a visual artist, but all of those things involve creating something and making a meaningful contribution to the world. So all of those experiences really help to build our creativity and our cognitive abilities. They are places that we go to feel happy. So we know that they have an impact on our mental health when we choose these types of leisure activities. So no matter what direction you go as your preferred activity, having something that involves music, art, movement in your life is so critical to health and happiness. But in the interest of health and safety, we've told a lot of our children that we can't do that anymore. And we've communicated the message that those things are not as important to your health and well-being and safety as making sure that we observe every single precaution, and sometimes to the extreme. Not all of them are precautions that are put out by the state and federal government. Some of them are just decisions that have been made because people feel unsure about how COVID-19 is transmitted. But I think at this point, we have to accept the reality that COVID-19 is a long-term process. that we will be wearing masks for a long time. We will be needing to wash our hands for a long time and use sanitizer and maintain social distancing as best we can, and really learn to live within a new guideline as best we can, but not take ourselves out of the world completely. There's been a lot of talk about the increase in mental health issues during COVID-19, or the increase in abuse. And I think all of those are real realities, and they're not just built from spending too much time together. They're a result of this kind of collision between putting restrictions in place for health and safety measures, increasing the amount of screen time that we're engaging with in as a process of learning, connecting to the world, leisure time, and taking away the other things in our life that are physiologically regulating, emotionally fulfilling, and help to build our sense of self and our ability to become adaptive human beings so that we can develop the skills of life. As I talk to a lot of the kids, some of the things that they tell me is some of the teachers are breaking the rules, not because they just don't want to follow them, but because they can't go any longer doing their job, not raising a child's heart rate in gym class, or they can't go any longer not playing an instrument. So even if they're not supposed to hold the drumsticks and do a percussion activity, which is probably the safest choice of not, not requiring children to breathe and use, use instruments like a flute or a clarinet, they're doing it because they realize they can't teach. And they're not doing right by their children and their students by not having them engage in the things that really foster overall health and well-being, and that can be a positive support to a child's mental health. And when we take all these things away, what do we have left? We just have counseling and therapy. So now we're going to talk about how we're feeling instead of doing the things that we know that the body craves to feel happy and comfortable in your own skin and successful in the world. So I really challenge you as we go through this series that I think I'm going to call A Recipe for Disaster, to think about all the things that impact the decisions that we're making as a society during COVID-19, and what is the new normal, and what is the best way to live inside the new normal in a way that is both safe from a germ and viral transmission perspective, and emotionally safe, physically safe for children who still need to learn and grow and develop and be happy in life. We want them to be successful. We want them to develop meaningful relationships, and we want them to stay healthy at the same time. But health means a lot of different things. So if we just put it all on parents to make it happen, there's a good chance that it's going to fail, because parents already have a really high burden placed on them to be able to, make money to support their families, to put food on the table, to be available for distance learning days, or children who are being homeschooled at the moment because of the health and safety concerns. There's a lot on a parent's plate, and juggling all of that and being completely responsible for making sure that the mental health and the emotional health of their child is being taken care of without the community supports of group activities and opportunities to socialize with friends in activities out in the community. It's really a lot for a parent to have to bear as far as burdens go. This is a shared responsibility in our community, and we do have to ask ourselves, is it time to reimagine our roles as professionals, as teachers, as community leaders, and rethink how we're going to support children to create that balance between living in this screen based world? Because health and safety measures tell us that that's the safest way to deliver content, to keep children learning and exposed to information, with the idea that children have to move to learn and grow and develop and be happy. So there's so much other research out there on the value of multisensory experiences as it facilitates learning, and the way that children engage and interact. So over the series, we're going to be diving deeper into some of these different concepts. We're going to be talking about how the brain works in a multisensory way and why we need to find ways to make these things safely a part of the world again for the health and well-being of our children. We're also going to talk about the impact of screen time on physiological health, on vision health, on the way that our bodies work. This situation where we've been forced into sedentary activity, where we've really created the perfect storm. We might have been worried about screen time before and kids spending too much time on video games, but now we're really worried about the impact of screen time because we've actually been told that that's what we need to do, that that's the safest way to engage with the world right now. But being that we're looking at this pandemic as playing the long game instead of just a few months of quarantine, it's really worth questioning and asking ourselves, how do we want to move forward? How do we want to move forward in a way that is going to maximally support our children and make sure that even though they've gone through this really unique time in history that they will remember forever, that on the other side, we all came out stronger. We came out better therapists. We came out better teachers. We came out better community leaders, better parents, so that we can be better and do better in reevaluating what is going to be the core of our education program. What is the rebalancing that needs to take place between screen time and movement and the arts so that children can become the best versions of themselves and develop cognitively and emotionally in a way that is going to set them up for success in the long term and empower them to become the leaders of the next generation. So continue to join me over the next several weeks as we dive deeper into these questions and focus on different topics such as screen time, the value of movement, the value of multisensory experiences in the development of cognition, the need for white space, which is something I didn't mention earlier, as a process of developing thinking and creativity, which are the tools that we need to be competitive and successful in the world. We want children that are ready to face the world of tomorrow, to live in a world of screens, but have the knowledge and foundation that the generation before them grew up in before the world of smartphones. Stay tuned. You'll be hearing a lot more from me on this topic in the coming weeks, and I'll be bringing in guest speakers who can speak more on their areas of expertise about movement and screen time and mental health impact. So stay with me, and I hope to see you next week in the weeks to come with more fabulous information. Have a great day.